Okay, I see the little recording live on YouTube, so I assume we're good to go.
Yep, it's
Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is a special meeting, Monday, August 16th, 2021. The time is 6:03, and we'll go ahead and take roll call. Kohlberg.
Here.
Morrison, looks like he's back on. Pearlie, you there? Okay, we'll get back to him. I see him on the line there. Rojas.
Here.
Peyton.
Here.
Okay, Nathan
Here.
and Sweat.
here.
Okay. All right, looks like we have everyone. Pearlie, can you try, have you got your unmute? Are you able to get that figured out on that phone?
May have to try *6. Looks like his audio is just not connecting.
Okay. All right. Well, we know he's there. Keep trying, Pearlie, and so we can get you in there when it comes time to talk. So we do have a quorum tonight, and then Rachel, if you could go ahead and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag
The flag
United States,
of the United States of America
to the
and to
republic,
the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Excused absences, we have none. Agenda approval. Go ahead and look for a motion here.
I'll make
Make
a
a
motion.
motion to, go ahead.
agenda. I'll make
Okay.
a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Second. All right. We have a motion to approve tonight's agenda by Rojas, second by Kohlberg. Any additional discussion on the agenda before we vote? Okay. All those in favor, Kohlberg,
Aye.
Morrison. Okay. We'll skip over Pearlie. Rojas,
Aye.
Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. The agenda is approved for this evening. Tonight's consent agenda, item E, we have none. So we'll go ahead and skip on past that. Item F, mayoral proclamations, none. Item G, public presentation, prior notice. I assume that's still none, Heidi?
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Item H, public presentation for items not on the agenda. Do we have anybody in the audience or online that wishes to speak for items not on the agenda?
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. Item I, committee and advisory board reports. We have none tonight. Item J, administrative reports, none. And that'll take us to item K, public hearings. We have the language for ordinance to the original ordinance that was proposed 22-02. And then we've got where we currently sit, ordinance 22-02 as amended. That language was found on page 63. That's why we're here tonight. Basically, we have a continuation of that last meeting, and we'll go ahead and turn it over to staff for presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. So on page 68 of your packet, and so that's the memo right after the amended ordinance. We don't have the page numbers in here, but just look for the amended ordinance and you'll see a memo right after it. At the August 9th council meeting, Councilmember Nathan proposed amendments to the ordinance striking the general obligation bond funding mechanism so that only other obligations such as a loan or a lease could be pursued. And then also striking the Seldovia Safe Roads program so that funding would be to pursue the acquisition of the road grader. And so rather than do the amendments verbally at the meeting, staff made amendments after the meeting and had Councilmember Nathan come to review the amendments to make sure it met his intent. So I was hoping as the sponsor to the amended ordinance that Councilmember Nathan could offer a few words if you would like, or I'm happy to continue with the presentation.
I think we all know where we are here. I just wanted to remove the idea of raising a bond to finance a new grader, whether we lease it or buy it, and along with it, the gravel that we were going to purchase just in order to have something besides a rolling stock that we were trying to bond. I think we can finance this better with just a small increase in sales tax, and then we'll address the problems of the Safe Road program later once we get past this this obstacle.
Great, thank you, Councilmember Nathan. And so a few things to note after the August 9th meeting. I was initially under the impression at the meeting that because this would still be the city incurring a debt through a loan or a lease, that we would need to still put it up to vote to the voters, even if there was a bond component, even if there wasn't a bond component associated with the ordinance. But I confirmed with our city attorney and another attorney he uses for bond counsel that no vote is required for a lease purchase, only for a general obligation bond, and no election is required for a lease of a properly structured loan, just for the sales tax. So by us removing the bond option, the ballot proposition, in essence, that's going to be posed to the voters in October if this ordinance passes is, shall the sales tax rate increase in order to pay on the obligations, which is a loan or a lease, needed to finance the acquisition of a road grader and then fund the public works and maintenance department. And so there's a few facts or points to mention that are also found on the second page of the memo. The first is that the City of Seldovia sales tax rate has not changed since October of 2000, and that's according to municipal code. Our current rate is for the city 2% during the first quarter and fourth quarter, and 4.5% during the second and third quarter. And the 2% sales tax in the winter, which is 5% overall in the winter because of the 3% the borough throws on there for education, is the lowest sales tax rate compared to any other incorporated city in the Kenai Peninsula borough. And the fact that we have seasonal rates too makes us a bit unique as a municipality. And another point, it's point E in the memo, is increasing the city's current sales tax rate may be a more equitable method of raising additional revenue than an increase in property tax, and sales tax will be borne by all residents and non-resident users of city facilities and services. And depending on how council moves to amend the sales tax, if there is to be an increase to the sales tax proposed tonight, if you do both winter and summer rates, the sales tax increase would go into effect January 1st, 2023. Now that's subject to change because while the city may make amendments to the sales tax rate this year, the borough still has administrative processes requesting budget authority from the assembly so that they may make updates to the software company that helps with managing all of the sales tax rates for municipalities throughout the Kenai Peninsula. So this would not be an instantaneous hike to sales tax. If council changes both the winter and summer, we're looking at 2023, the start of 2023, but perhaps if you only change one and not the other, it could be going into effect sooner than that. So I wanted to make sure that was noted. And then aside from helping fund the acquisition of a new grader for Seldovia, the sales tax increase would then be all the revenue generated from that earmarked to the Public Works Department. And so a few facts about the Public Works and Maintenance Department. That department incurs the most expenses compared to any other department in the general fund. So Public Works and Maintenance makes up 34% of the general fund expenses, or that's $212,000 out of $621,000. And this has been the case for FY21, FY20, and FY19. The City of Soldovia's facilities, infrastructure, and equipment are aging, and maintenance on these capital assets has been deferred, not occurred, or has been provided in a limited fashion due to the city's limited budget. And so the Public Works and Maintenance Department is responsible for the facilities, infrastructure, and equipment of the city. And then the additional revenue allocated to the Public Works and Maintenance Department through a potential increase in the sales tax may help with the future funding needed in order to secure road material for the Soldovia Safe Roads program, as well as maintain the city public facilities and assets, including our equipment and machinery, providing maintenance and beautification support for enhancing parks, cemeteries, campgrounds, and trails, as well as fixing public facilities such as the multi-purpose building, the value-added building, and the city office, to name a few. And one last thing to note, so I did follow up with NC Machinery, and if the city pursued a lease to own or loan program with CAT Machinery, there would not be a penalty if we paid it off, if we decided we didn't want to go the full extent of the term, which is 7 years, and we just were able to find enough funding, we could pay it off penalty free. And the quote that we have from NC Machinery has a time limit on it. I have to let them know by August 19th if we want to pursue a grader or not with them in order to secure that dollar amount. And so I can say that, yes, we're interested, but if it doesn't end up working out, we're not on the hook for that piece of equipment. And I included the email with NC Machinery on that topic as a backup to the memo. So I hope that answers a few questions or gives more information regarding the amendments to the ordinance. And now I want to share my screen so that I can provide council with a really significant update when it comes to the amount of revenue that a sales tax increase could do for Soldovia. And it looks like I need participant screen sharing permission. Okay. Let's see. So this is the first page in council's laydown packet that was provided basically as soon as we got the updated figures from the borough. But initially, when staff presented to council the data, we were actually using the sales tax revenue that the city had already received as a way to calculate the percentages that a sales tax increase could do for Soldovia, which was incorrect. We should have been looking at what an increase would have done on the gross sales. So initially, we were under the impression that an increase could generate only $2,000 to $5,000 worth of additional revenue. And so we were just operating from the trenches, trying to get the data out as quickly as we could. And so it was a significant error on our part. And so we had the borough review the data, the new data, where we were looking at a sales tax increase on the gross sales. And so here's some figures for the council to look at. The first part of your laydown packet, and let me just zoom in here so hopefully it's more visible on the screen. For FY 18 through 21, the numbers that you see here would have been reported. So it's not actual cash that the city has received yet, but that's what sellers in the city of Soldovia limits have reported to the borough in terms of taxable sales revenue. So on average, if we were to take those 4 fiscal years, the city could expect to see a little over $150,000 in sales tax revenue every year, based on the past 4 fiscal years.
Mr. Mayor, if I may
Now, if
clarify.
we look at a few different,
Yep, go ahead, Vivian, if you have a question.
Yes, thank you. Rachel, you just said, if we have received these funds, are you referring only to FY '21? Because FY '18, '19, '20 funds should have been received, or does it not work that way?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Rojas, it does not work that way, which is why, for example, our FY '22 budget, we don't account for the full amount of sales tax revenue in order to balance our budget, because people could report sales late. They could defer. I'm not exactly sure all the options that are available to a business when it comes to paying the sales tax revenue to the Kenai Peninsula Borough, who then remits it to the city of Soldovia. But it's best practice when you're developing your budget to never count the anticipated amount of sales tax revenue as receiving all of it in that fiscal year. So that's been what's been reported, but we may not have actually received that full amount, if that makes sense.
And that would be in the previous years, 2019 and 18, or would those be actuals?
I can't speak to 18, 19, 20, or even 21. That would be a question that I could ask the borough finance director, but
I think I can answer that real quick. So if a business falls behind, and I believe I'm pretty accurate on this, if a business falls behind and is not able for whatever reason to pay their sales tax on time, the borough will work with the business to get that tax remitted. So it may be they don't like stringing it out, but it may be a 1, 2, or 3 year deal where the business is on a payment plan to get that tax remitted, rather than the borough filing legal action. So it's like anything, it's a creditor and they want their money. That's rightfully, it's rightfully comes back to all the cities there, and they're in charge of administering it. So they'll do whatever it takes to get that money. And then that's why you see that those are basically not finalized until 100% of the tax is actually collected.
Okay, so it's not really money. We're looking at numbers that may not be actuals.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
But you can see, Councilmember Rojas, we're looking at about $150,000 that theoretically the city should be able to receive every year, because this is what the businesses operating within the city of Soldovia are reporting to the borough, and the borough is then telling us, based on our sales tax rates of 2% in the winter and 4.5% in the summer, this is the portion of the revenue we should be receiving. And then the borough tax on another 3%, and then that's allocated to schools and the Kenai Peninsula Borough. And so what you see here is what's already happening in Soldovia, but what if we were to entertain other scenarios? And so before you are 6 different scenarios where if we were to increase winter and summer so that it was 5% year round, you'd be looking at a potential forecasted sales tax revenue of $210,000 compared to what we're on average receiving, which is $150,000. So you could see an increase in revenue of, let's just say $60,000 right there to call it even. Now, if you were to keep winter the same and only increase summer by 0.5%, you're looking at an increase in revenue of about $13,000 or $163,000. For scenario 3, and so on, there's different percentages and the dollar amounts associated with it for council's consideration tonight. So the way that the ordinance is drafted before council has it as 5% year round for the city of Soldovia. But there could be an amendment tonight based on these updated figures where perhaps there's a council member that wants to change the rate based on revenue that it would generate and other factors. And so I have a spreadsheet template ready to go if council wants to see what other numbers, what other percentages would look like in terms of generating revenue for the city. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Rachel. Real quick, before we go to council, I just want to chime in real quick because I missed last meeting and I apologize for that. We had some family stuff going on. One thing generally I can say is, I like what happened with the amendment. I think that's fine. I think we need some serious discussion about I'm just making it simple in terms of doing away with the bonds, just going straight to NC, getting a new grader. One thing I want to convey is to, anyone listening or watching, the importance of our grader for our community when it comes to snow removal and maintaining our roads. It's not an option to not have a grader. And when we talk about, cutting services, if we can't get a grader, it's not an option, or you're not going to be able to get out of your driveway. So we have to move forward with something. So I've taken a look at this. I've talked to the administration about the numbers. I'll just throw it out there right now. Scenario number 3 is what I'm advocating for. Initially, the administration had on that line item, winter at 2 and summer at 6. And what I'd like to see is leave the winter, those 2 quarters alone, where we've been, so that, again, our taxes are not, on the backs of the, less than 200 people paying taxes, probably closer to 100 if we have a population of just over 200. So leaving the winter rates alone, and then increasing the summer rates to something significant. I mean, it's going to cost us $40,000 a year for the grader. So if we went to 6.5, which is a 2% increase during the 2 summer month quarters, we would raise approximately $203,000, which is effectively just over $50,000 above our average. That not only funds the grader, it adds a little bit extra to our fund for our maintenance department, which we obviously need, knowing full well that we have other equipment aging. We have, a shortage of labor to fix some of the problems that we have with our water and sewer. And there's going to be a lot more ahead of us here in the next couple of years. So I would encourage everyone to, consider those numbers. Certainly, you're free to come up with anything that you feel is appropriate, but that's what I'll be advocating for tonight. So that's my 2 cents, and we'll go ahead and open the floor up for anyone that wants to comment or have additional questions.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I am total support of scenario 3 also. I would like us to try to hold the winter rate at 2% and really try to, with the 6.5% during the summer months, and try to hit our visitors and our extra folks that are around here. It would be great. And I think it would also be that scenario I think would fly better with the voters. The 2% during the winter, we've got people who live in the city limits and outside the city limits contributing. And during the summer, we have an influx of folks that are coming and going for that, a 6 months period that we could do the 6.5. So if we had 3% on that, we would be up there at 8.5. And I think Homer's already at that, but I really think that, and I'm hoping, as you said, Mr. Mayor, speaking to those in the audience, the importance of doing this. And it would just be a great addition to our budget, that we could actually work a budget and be responsible to our constituents with being able to provide a grader and actually have money going into an account that we could rely on to take care of our maintenance department. But I am in favor of holding the winter rate and increasing the summer as much as we possibly comfortably can. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Vivian, just one correction. So with that, with the 6.5 plus the 3, that would take us to a 9.5. But to put that into context, so Homer has a 7.85 for the entire year. So for 6 months, we would, be basically just over 3% under them, and then for the total, and then for the other six months, basically we'd be 1.65 above them. So, but again, we don't have nearly the amount, the population, or the amount of people visiting that they do to collect that tax on. So
Right.
yeah, I agree with you, Vivian. I think this approach it's more. It makes more sense. Nobody likes taxes. Nobody likes additional taxes. I know that, but we have to do something here. I've also talked to a number of constituents, some that have adamantly opposed any tax increases. I get it, but we have to do something. Doing nothing is not an option. We know there's not going to be one revenue source that is going to fix our problem here. It's going to be a multitude of things. The manager has proposed a number of things that have been shot down. The property tax was shot down. So the sales tax seems the most equitable solution, that the council can come up with. And of course, it has to be ratified by the voters. So, all right. Thank you, Vivian. Anyone else with comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, I would support that as well. I think that's an excellent fallback position, and we probably should have done that first.
Thank you, George.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep. Go ahead, John.
yeah, I would fully support scenario 3. I'm just running quick numbers in my head. That's about a 1/3 increase. So for the mail-in stuff, that would be another 1/3 of what that's taken in, would probably be about the same too. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, John.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, I am sorry, but I guess my brain is still out in Prince William Sound. What are you guys looking at? I mean, are you looking at the laydown?
Yes, that paper is in the laydown, correct?
Well, this is what I was looking for. Where,
It's okay. I don't have it either.
oh, I do not see it in the laydown. I mean, is it in the laydown?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Sweat, are you looking for the actual ordinance?
No, I'm looking for what you guys were looking at. Yeah,
On page 3 of the laydown. The laydown's 5 pages and it's on page 3.
You're holding it in your hand, Bob.
yeah, I
It's
know,
on the
but
back.
it's not on our pads, right?
That's correct.
Through the mayor, it was emailed to the council at about 4:15 p.m., 4:30 p.m. So you should have received that email. But regardless, we have paper packets available here and it's on the website.
Okay, I got it now.
Mayor, may I comment?
Yes, go ahead.
So I just wanted to add to what Councilmember Colberg said, which is the figures that you see before you, these are for sales tax revenue generated through brick and mortar businesses or people that are physically present. And now that the city is a participant in the Remote Seller Sales Tax Commission, that would also give us an increase in revenue that way as well. But since it's a relatively new program, I think we have about a couple years worth of data now. We could, or even just a year's worth of data. The city clerk is shaking her head. So it's hard to extrapolate what an increase could give us based on a few fiscal years, but that's some information that I can bring to the council at a later date. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is it's unfortunate to consider something like an increase in sales tax, but sales tax and property tax revenue are the two regularly occurring sources of revenue for the city of Seldovia or any city, particularly the general fund, and something that the city's been doing for the past few years, which is not the most fiscally conservative, is balancing our budget with the community assistance program funds. So our budget for FY22 is $60,000 or so of it is balanced with the community assistance funds. And so if that were to go away, this, by us contributing money to the greater and then the public works department through an increase in sales tax, then that frees up some money to help make up that hole that the removal or the termination of the community assistance program funds would make if the state decides to eliminate that revenue sharing program. So those are just two additional points to make to the council tonight.
Thank you, Rachel. Any additional comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, George.
if memory serves, I believe the first year that we got revenue from the online sales, it increased our sales tax by about 10%. So, and I think that's going to do nothing but grow. More and more folks are shopping online. The other thing is the tax base as far as property tax is one thing. That's very limited. But of course, the sales tax is everyone has to pay it, whether you live here, work here, come here 2 days a year. If you spend a nickel here, you're gonna help us out with sales tax. I think it's a much more fair way to go, and it should make folks who are not paying for the services that they receive here have to pony up a little bit.
Yep, thank you, George. Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, one point or just a.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Right, so I saw that when we're ordering that grader, it's at least a 9-month lead way on it. And I'm just thinking that we are really in need to do a lot of PR to let people know in the community who will be the voters what we're trying to accomplish. And they need to understand that we are short on revenues. We need to come up with revenue somehow. And we've chosen from the room that was filled with people who did not want to increase their property tax. But as our city manager said, 2 things support communities and cities, and that's your sales tax and your property tax. And our sales tax has not been risen since 2000. So we're going to have to do a lot of PR because I think I like the words George said. And that is, I think it's at help out. It's all about helping us out. And so I think we're just going to have to do our homework if the council decides to go with perhaps scenario 3, we're just going to have to really put out information about what we're trying to accomplish so we can get the voters to understand where we're coming from. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian, for chiming in with that. And I'll just follow on to that too. I see good things in the future for us if we can get our community under control fiscally. We see investment going on right now in the community. We see people building new homes. A couple of them that are going to be quite substantial within the city here, which is going to increase our property tax base. Just about everything is sold. There's additional people moving into our community. Our community should be growing. Our businesses have been growing. This is going to be a fantastic year in terms of numbers, based what I'm seeing so far. So I think regardless of when, any new taxes go into play, I think we're going to still see a nice uptick this year in sales tax. So I'm hopeful on that. So yeah, I mean, things are good. Whatever we're doing, is for the community as a whole, whether it's a product of our environment with COVID. We're going to hopefully reap the benefits of some of this, good, bad, or ugly, but things are slowly starting to change, and it's our responsibility to come up with a solution to the problems we're having to be able to support growth in our community. So again, like it or not, I think this type of tax is one of the few tools that we have that's meaningful. We can solve some problems, and it will take some public education prior to the election to let voters know what we're trying to accomplish. We're not just doing this because we want to throw $50,000 into the kitty. It's a targeted purpose, to keep our community going and help with our infrastructure and our maintenance department. So, okay, anyone else? Pearlie, are you able to go off mute if you want to say anything? I don't think he's had any luck on Heidi.
It doesn't appear so, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a way that he might be able to call into a cell phone and put him on speaker if he wants to talk?
Yeah, he could actually call into the room number, which I don't have off the top of my head. Let me grab that real quick.
Okay.
And I'll give that to you, Pearlie, if you have the senior meals number, or let me just grab that.
Yeah, I just hate not to be able to have a council member,
Mhm.
get his 2 cents in here on this.
Absolutely. Mr. Morrison, the senior meals room number is 907-234-7893. So if you want to try calling into that number, 907-234-7893, we should be able to receive that and put you on speakerphone. Oh, yep, it looks like he left the meeting, so hopefully that's what he's attempting
Yeah,
to do.
let's give him just a second here in all fairness here to,
Mr. Mayor,
yeah, George, if you had a comment, go
if I
ahead.
could, well, never mind. I'll hold for the caller.
Okay, you bet.
Hey, Pearlie, let me try to put you on speaker and see if we can get everybody to be able to hear you. Did you want to speak at this time? Okay, let me put you on speakerphone. Okay, Pearlie, let's see if everybody can hear you this way.
I've been listening here, and scenario 3 seems to be the consensus. I'm kind of leaning towards scenario 1. Just do 5% across the boards, and I hear from a lot of people that come in here and through other towns that, you know, they kind of need to be gouged. So we're trying to encourage people to come in here, not scare them away with sales tax that locals don't have to pay. I don't know. It seems like everybody's up for scenario 3, so I would vote for that also. But I would kind of like to keep it even across the boards. But I'm okay with scenario 3.
Was everybody able to hear that?
Yep,
Yes.
I got it. Yep. He generally supports scenario number 1 as a more even year-round tax for everybody, but would be willing to go along with the consensus of scenario number 3. So Pearlie, thank you. I appreciate your comments on that. Okay, George, go ahead if you had a comment.
Yeah, if I could just tack on to Vivian's last comment, you know, we have this nice little gathering coming up on the 29th. We're probably going to have contact with just about everybody in town. I suggest we all bring a whip and a chair and make our program known.
All right, thank you, George. Appreciate that. All right, any other final comments or questions before we go to the public? Okay, we will go to the public for ordinance 22-02. Heidi, do we have anyone with a hand raised or wish to comment?
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and bring it back to council. It looks like we would need an additional amendment to get scenario 3 in front of us.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to amend the ordinance and changing the taxable sales to scenario 3, which would be a 6.5% summer and a taxable sale of 2% during the winter.
Okay, then I assume all the additional language and flow downs would be changed within that to reflect all those conditions.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Yep, go ahead.
Well, we withdrew the motion and the amendment. I think we need to make the motion first before we can present amendments to it. Is that correct or not?
Yes.
Okay, so we're on, yeah, this might, so we're, okay, yeah, so I'm not sure where we were left off at the last meeting then. If the entire motion was withdrawn and still not on the table, then we would need to go ahead and have a motion to adopt ordinance 22-02. Is that correct, Heidi?
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so then let's back up real quick. Hold that thought, Vivian, and then go
Yep.
ahead. If you want to go ahead and just take it away with getting 2202 on the table.
I'll make a motion that we accept ordinance 22-02.
Okay, do we have a second?
You know, because it's not a substitute, I think you could do it as amended.
Oh, good, we can. Okay,
That'd be great.
Yeah, let's do it as amended since it's not a substitute. Does that
as
work for you,
amended.
Mr. Mayor?
So,
Okay, so if we do it as amended, is it still going to be it'll still be the language down there, then we would still need to go ahead and do an additional amendment, correct?
Correct.
correct.
Okay, yep, I got you.
So is it as amended?
As
I'll
amended,
second.
so,
That's-
I'll second.
okay, so we have a motion to accept ordinance 22-02 as amended, which substantially changes the language from the original version. That's by Rojas. We have a second by Colberg. So now we'll go ahead and ask for any additional discussion, which may include an additional amendment at this time.
yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add an amendment to ordinance 22-02 as amended, which would be scenario 3 that we have in our laydown. Do you need the numbers? I just flipped from one place to another. Which would be, do you need the numbers? Otherwise, can somebody just read it? I haven't got it in front of me.
Yeah, increasing the second and third quarters to 6.5 from the current 4.5 and leaving the first and fourth quarters at 2%.
2%. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vivian. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have an amendment, as Vivian just read, to increase quarters 2 and 3 to 6.5. Leave quarters 1 and 4 at 2%. We have a second by Colberg. And is there any additional discussion on the amendment before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we will vote on the amendment. All those in favor, Colberg,
Aye.
Morrison. Okay, he's an aye. Rojas,
Aye.
Peyton,
No.
is that a no, Harmony?
Yes, that's a no.
Okay, Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-1. The amendment passes 5-1. That'll take us back to the main motion as amended. Is there any additional discussion or amendments on 2202 as amended? Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
yep, go ahead, Harmony.
this is a lot of good information. As a representative of the city, I agree with everything my fellow council members have said, to the larger extent. I think that you guys hit the nail on the head when you said you need to put out a lot of PR. You need to be reaching out consistently on Facebook. You know, so many people use Facebook in our community. And with COVID, you know, there are a lot of conscious people who aren't really intermingling. But really put your information out there, really sell it, really make sure that you are giving people all this information so that they can vote with less emotion and more information. I think that this has the potential to be a good thing for our community. But from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of people who are against it because of that 3-letter word. And, you know, like you guys said, push, put it up, make it a PR, make it a banner PR event for us.
Okay, thank you, Harmony. Yep, I think that's agreed, and I think a number of folks alluded to that yes, that will be extremely important to get that out there. Any additional comments before we vote on 2202 as amended? Okay, we'll go and vote on the main motion as amended. All those in favor, Colberg,
Aye.
Oh, is one in the public, Mr. Mayor? Sorry. Are we going to the public at all?
let's see, I think we already did.
Okay.
Yep,
perfect.
we already did, and then we came back. Yep,
Okay, thank you.
yep. So Colberg,
Aye.
Morrison,
Aye.
okay, Rojas,
Aye.
Peyton,
No.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 5-1. Ordinance 22-02 as amended is passed. Okay, thank you everyone for that. Yeah, not an easy decision, but we have to do something, and that'll be up to the voters to either ratify that or reject it. Takes us to item 2 tonight, item K2, resolution 22-06. Resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia initiating development of the Seldovia Safe Roads Program during fiscal year 2022. And go ahead, staff.
Thank you, Mayor. So Resolution 22-06 is a follow-up to basically a description that was provided to the legislature with the request for capital funding. We had told the legislature that we would work on developing a Seldovia Safe Roads program during this fiscal year. And that doesn't have to mean setting aside funding for material. The roads program, if council gave permission to work on developing it during this fiscal year, could mean just having staff go through and inventory the roads, document what they need, and put them in a list of priorities so that when funding is available, the city can focus its limited resources in a strategic manner to tackle the roads that need maintenance first, significant critical maintenance first, and then work our way down the list. And so this program, once we're done developing it, would go out to the public for comment before council's adoption. And the success of the program overall would be available or be contingent upon available funding and staff capacity. So this resolution, if adopted, will allow the city to initiate the development of the program. Once the inventory is developed, the city will solicit public comment prior to council's adoption of it. And then within the budget authority already granted by council through the FY22 budget, the city manager may hire temporary staff in order to assist in the development of the Seldovia Safe Roads program. And so some backstory on that. Before our former operator, John Kennedy, left the city, he had actually helped in collecting the data that demonstrated there was 1.73 miles of road, of the unpaved road, out of the 5 miles that needs significant maintenance. And so I'd like to have him come back on an estimate of 5 up into 15 hours worth of time to help document and describe the sections of road that he identified while he was still with the city. So that way we still aren't, we're not pulling the staff that are working on essential stuff right now away from their duties. So that is resolution 22-06 in a nutshell, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Appreciate that. Any questions or comments from council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think I've said this before, but I think it's about time that we start developing a program to take care of our roads and infrastructure. So I'm all for it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anyone else with questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
I agree with John. I'm glad to see that we're actually going forward and making a point of being organized and go through and prioritizing what roads in town and inventory what we really have and what their requirements would be. So we actually have something tangible to look at and then move forward from there. If I could clarify, it kind of broke up on my end. Our city manager said that they're going to bring John Kennedy on or had already done work. Bring him back on and do some work. I didn't quite get that part. If she could clarify that.
You bet. Through the mayor, Councilmember Rojas. So Operator Kennedy technically still assists the city from time to time as a temporary employee, because without him, our other operator, Jordan Cameron, wouldn't be able to have a weekend. And so if he leaves, the former operator, John Kennedy, comes on to assist in that measure. And so this would be another project where he could help the city in a temporary capacity without taking away Jordan's or other employees' availability for other more critical projects of the city. And because we went without a second employee in the Public Works Department for some time, we still have available budget for about 5 to 15 hours of time from John Kennedy to help us complete this work.
Okay, thank you for clarification. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. Any other questions or comments on resolution 22-06 before we go to the public? Okay, we'll go ahead and go to the public for any comments on 22-06. Heidi, anyone that you can see that wishes to speak?
There are no hands raised in the public at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and bring it back to council for final action on resolution 22-06 for the development of the Soldovia Safe Roads program in fiscal year 2022.
We'll make a motion. We accept resolution 22-06.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept resolution 22-06 by Rojas, a second by Colberg. All those in favor, Colberg,
Aye.
Morrison. He may have dropped off. Rojas,
Aye.
Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with 5 votes. Okay, thank you everyone for that. We'll move down to the final item this evening, item K3, and that is resolution 22-08, resolution of the City Council of the City of Soldovia adopting a joint resolution number 2021-002 of the Assembly of the Kenai Peninsula Borough and councils of the cities of Homer, Kachemak, Kenai, Soldovia, Seward, and Soldotna, supporting a request for federal aid submitted by the Kenai Peninsula Borough to Alaska's U.S. Congressional Delegation for the purpose of the spruce bark beetle mitigation. And this will be found on page 74 of your packet. And if we could have staff go ahead and give us an overview.
Thank you, Mayor. So the city manager at the City of Kenai, Paul Ostrander, has been working with Mayor Pierce on this initiative, and in order to give Senator Murkowski additional backup for a request of about $35 million in funding for spruce bark beetle mitigation, we have before the council tonight joint resolution 21-02, which just shows that the Kenai Peninsula cities are in a unified force to support Senator Murkowski and Sullivan and our congressional delegation in getting a significant amount of funding allocated to Alaska to help with spruce bark beetle mitigation. So I have very limited understanding of the project, but this would be a testament from the city of Soldovia that it is a recognized issue, and that because the boroughs, cities, and all residents and landowners within the Kenai Peninsula Borough share a common goal to mitigate the devastating impacts of this resurgent spruce bark beetle outbreak. This would be a testament in that endeavor if council considers resolution 22-08. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and take it to council for discussion. Anyone have any comments or questions on 22-08?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, George.
do we have any idea at all what the mitigation actions would be? I've always been on the impression there was very little that you could do to stop the spruce bark beetles.
It's an excellent question through the mayor. I can ask the city manager of Kenai and report back to you, Councilmember Nathan, at the next meeting.
Well,
Yeah,
I
yeah, the
think
only thing,
before I vote for this, I'd like to know just what they plan on doing. There might be some things we wouldn't like. I don't know.
yeah, the only thing I can see on the joint resolution, I mean, they talked about a previous, the aerial detection survey that was conducted in 2019, where they mapped 150,000 acres. I would imagine that they would continue with surveys on that. I mean, they're asking for 35 million from the congressional delegation for the mitigation. That's obviously a substantial sum of money. I don't know if aerial survey would cost anywhere near that, but yeah, I mean, you're right. There's I don't know if there's much more. I read through that. It's pretty broad in terms of information.
Mr. Mayor, just one more thing.
Yep, go ahead, George.
I was up here flying in the early 90s, and you know, if you flew from Homer to Seldovia, you had to get out and clean the window on the airplane because you couldn't see out. Literally, the little green boogers were it was clouds of them, and there was a lot of talk about what can we do about this, and there really was no known treatment that would kill them or whatnot. Additionally, there's a bunch of beetle kill across the inlet there around Tuxedni Bay, and a logging operation was over there cutting beetle kill and chipping it and shipping it off to be turned into particle board. And the environmental folks stopped all that. Why anybody would, I didn't understand that. But all I'm trying to say is there's going to be reactions to this that we need to know about before we get too involved in funding it.
Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead.
So I just pulled up an article that was published on KDLL that is from, it's sharing information from the Kenai Peninsula Borough that the borough hopes to work $35 million into a congressional bill or budget for fiscal year 22 to preempt further damage and address existing harm. Over the next 5 years, the $35 million would go towards protecting private and public lands from infestation and protect Alaskans against resulting fires. The request also said the borough wants to look at exporting the wood that's left over from beetle kill projects. And I might add that just due to limited staff capacity, I wasn't able to look into this further, but it is something that does have unanimous support from the other cities. And it also has a deadline because they need to get this before the federal delegation for budget consideration, since I believe they're on a October calendar start year. So that's why this got rushed before the council per the request of the city of Kenai.
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Harmony.
Yeah, I think this is could be a great program. It's a plague that we've been suffering under for a long time. So my question is, is that a lot of the surrounding area isn't actually owned or operated by the city. A lot of it is federal and or tribal. Have we reached out to Crystal Collier about this at all?
Through the mayor, no. Councilmember Payton, it was just a request from one first-class city or home rule city to another. So it's just getting the cities together, but it would be great to get SVT's participation as well.
And Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, John.
A clarification, it is not tribal. It is the Seldovia Native Associations, which is a for-hire business. The tribal has no legal connection to SNA other than the employees working in both. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
I think this is a good project that they're trying to get together a joint resolution for. Now you can see the bark beetle infestation happening again. I can remember back when it was at Cooper Landing, how it came down this way. Sylvania was spared, but a few areas got clustered with it. George, I agree that we probably need to find out what mitigations they're discussing. And hopefully they've come out with new mitigations since, 10, 15, 20 years ago when people were just cutting down their trees, just trying to give themselves a fire barrier. Hopefully there would be assistance for people. I know at that time people were scrambling just to protect their houses and their land. So if we have time to get more info, even what our city manager just read, that would be great. Otherwise, I'd be happy to move forward with this tonight if need be. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm wondering too. It sounds like in terms of mitigation, that a lot of this could be directed at fire, especially after what happened here 2 years ago with the big fires and stuff. So, but again, technology may also have changed in terms of pesticides and stuff like that. So, but okay, any additional questions or comments before we go to the public? Okay, let's see, we'll go ahead and go to the public. Heidi, anyone with hands up or anybody that you can see that wishes to offer comment?
I am not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and bring it back to council for final action.
Mr. Mayor, could I get clarification? Is there a time frame that we're working under that is critical for tonight to have action, or is Councilman Nathan okay with moving forward? I didn't know if there was a time crunch we're on. If I could get clarification.
Yeah, Rachel, are you able to provide that? I mean, it sounds like there is, but I'm not sure what that date is.
Yes, so initially, because this was given or turned over to the city, or we missed the last meeting, but September 13th, which is our next council meeting, would be too late to have this topic brought before the council. I put it on this agenda at the request of, I'm assuming the Kenai Peninsula Borough and the city of Kenai for consideration to show support on all of the cities. My solution, if this meeting hadn't happened tonight, would be that they go ahead and pass the joint resolution without Soldovia, and then Soldovia with more time could pass a separate resolution. So that's another option for council.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I would be more than happy to put forward a motion to accept resolution 22-08, just to work in league with the other communities and move this forward.
Okay,
Second.
sounds good. There is a motion to adopt resolution 22-08 by Rojas, second by Colberg. Any additional comments, questions before we vote?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, George.
I didn't quite understand. Vivian, you're saying you want to put forward this motion at a later time, or you're putting it for a vote now?
Correct, this evening, as solidarity with those that are putting together this resolution.
Well,
Yes, tonight.
I would just say one more time, I'm very much afraid of the kind of knee-jerk action that we've seen in the past by groups of that may be behind all this. There's you're handing the administration of your lands over to somebody that's in Washington, D.C. and has never walked off pavement in his life. I'm not going to vote for this at this time. Need to know a lot more about it.
Okay, thank you, George. Any other questions or comments before we vote? Okay, we will go ahead and vote on acceptance of resolution 22-08. Colberg,
Aye.
Morrison. Let's see, and Morrison's probably not able to go off mute to give his vote. So let's see how this goes here. We may come back to Pearlie and ask him to hang up and call that other number here. Rojas,
Aye.
Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
No.
Sweat.
Aye.
Okay, motion does pass with 4 votes. 4-1. So motion does pass. Appreciate that, everyone. That'll take care of resolution 22-08.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead.
If I may, I do believe that we have Pearlie joining us to be able to voice his opinion and vote.
Yep, let's go ahead and do that so we can get it on the record. That'd be great. Mr. Morrison?
Mr. Morrison, if you're ready, they're ready to hear from you.
I can't hear you.
I'm just,
There we go.
no vote at this point, I guess.
Did you hear that? He is abstaining from his vote at this point in time because he's not able to hear enough of the information.
Okay, so he's abstaining. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison.
Okay, so we have 4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and then 1 abstention. So motion still carries 4-1. All right, we'll go ahead and go down to item L, unfinished business. We have none. Item M, new business, none. Item N, city managers report, none. Item O, informational items not requiring action. First one is the declaration of candidacy for the October 5th, 2021 local election is now closed. I assume, did we have a few folks that applied, and enough folks applied to be able to run for those positions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have 4 declarations of candidacy for the 3-year term seat, one being our incumbent member, Mr. Kohlberg. And then we also have our appointed member, Miss Harmony Payton, who is running for her 2-year term.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, if I can ask the city clerk for clarification.
Yes, and I would love to also include that those individuals, except for I have not heard back from Miss Payton yet, but the other individuals running for the 3-year seat will be in the Kenai Peninsula Borough voter pamphlet with a short bio or information sheet about each member. So that will be available for the citizens of Seldovia to see who's running for the seat this year. That's the first time that we've done that since I've been here, and that's kind of exciting.
okay, go ahead, Vivian, with your question.
Yeah, if I could get clarification, with our voting, with our council members, are they each one running for a particular seat for 3-year, or is the top 2 votes get in for each one of the 3-year seat? Is it broke down with like seat A, B, or C? Someone asked me that in the community, and truly I couldn't answer. If you could clarify or make that on the record, please.
Yes, through the mayor.
Yep,
Yes, so the seats are at large, which means it'd be the top 2 would get the 2 seats. And then, like I said, there is a 3rd seat because of the 2-year term from the appointment of Miss Payton, but she is the only one running at that time, which doesn't mean somebody can't be written in, or there can't be, a write-in candidate to take that seat. But there are 4 for the 3-year term and 1 for the 2-year term seat at this point in time, and they are at large. So it's whoever the top 2 are will get the seat.
Okay, thank you.
okay, that's good information. Thank you for the question, Vivian. Thank you for the clarification, Heidi. Well, that's good news. So I'm glad to see some additional interest from members of the community and the seats up for reelection. The August 23rd, 2021 regular city council meeting has been canceled. Item P, executive session, none. Item Q, council and mayor comments concerning items not on the agenda. Kohlberg.
Good short meeting. wish the public was here. Thank you, staff. Great job.
Thank you, John. Let's see, Mr. Morrison, we will not be able to hear from him. Rojas,
Yep. Thank you, everyone, for all your time. And I'm happy it's a short meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
thank you, Vivian. Peyton,
Concurred. Thanks, guys.
okay, thank you. George,
I made a kind of a snide comment about our little get together coming up on the 29th, but seriously, I think we all really need to participate. I think it's a real good opportunity to meet with constituents in a much less formal atmosphere and have a chance to try to persuade some folks and gain support from others. I think it's more and more important that we do this at this time.
thank you,
And
George.
it was a good short meeting. I'm glad I appreciate the mayor and the city manager working together to refine the sales tax plan. That was a real good stroke. Thanks.
Thank you, George. Bobby,
Yes, thanks everyone for your time.
okay, thank you. And then I just had a comment. So tomorrow, I don't know a lot about it. Tomorrow night, the Alaska Rural Power Association is coming in. Heidi or Rachel, do you guys have any additional comments on that? I mean, what it is? I know we've commented on a couple things, me not being there, but what they want to accomplish while they're here for their short time?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, from what I understand, this is part of a 3-day or a multiple day conference. So just this is an activity that they are providing to those members of that conference to come over to Soldovia, check out the area, maybe do some shopping if the shops are open, and have, a little meet and greet mingling at the pavilion.
Okay, then that is open to the public?
I'm not sure. I would have to double check. I've heard them invite the council and I've heard them, mention it on the record that it's going to be there and happening, but I haven't seen any official notice go out to the public. They did put out a notice for the neighborhood meeting, which is happening next week on August 26th from noon to 1, noon to 2 at the Sea Otter Community Center. So that notice has gone out, but I have not seen anything that's been provided to the public for tomorrow night.
Okay. Yeah, I just looking for clarification on that because I hadn't seen a lot of that. And I just want to make sure if they're, if they were looking for public participation, then that would be great. I know the weather's not going to be super great tomorrow. It looks like they're all meeting at the pavilion. So, and then they're just going to be in town for just a few hours, it sounds like. And that's why there's no afternoon ferry run tomorrow. So, with the Kachemak Voyager. So, okay. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I just want to say thanks everyone for your participation and, additional comments, thoughts on the sales tax issue. Again, it's not the preferred thing and it's never fun, but it'll be in the hands of the voters now. I think it's a legitimate option that everyone needs to consider. And so that we'll look forward to some public education here as we move forward. Next regular meeting will be held on September 13th, 2021 at 6 p.m. And if we could get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, any objections? Okay, hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it tonight.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Okay, have a good evening, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Yep, bye-bye.